Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. For today's midweek meta deck, we are playing Ocean Soul 92's Legacy Showcase Challenge winning Cori-Steel Cutter tempo deck. So we've seen the Cori-Steel Cutter deck before on the channel. It's very potent. It's a nice new tool that these sort of blue-red Delver decks have, even though they're not running Delver anymore. And this is kind of very much in the same vein with a couple of interesting quirks with it. So we've got ourselves 4 Dragon's Rage Channeler as our main 1-drop, and then a Tamiyo to supplement that. We've got ourselves Cori-Steel Cutter, and then we've got 4 Baubles to try and turn this on the turn we play it. We've obviously got our Force of Wills and Daze as you'd expect in any tempo shell. Same with Brainstorms and Ponder. Got our 4 Lightning Bolts and our Unholy Heats. So we can remove creatures, and obviously the Lightning Bolts can go to face. And then we've got a couple of Murktide Regents just for a big creature. This is really good in this deck because we can sometimes play it and immediately give it haste with this Cori-Steel Cutter and just swing a game that we weren't winning. We've also got a 1-off Brazen Borrower for anything sketchy that gets into play, and we've gone up on cantrips in this build to 2 Preordains. This is so that we can trigger Cori-Steel Cutter more reliably. But then we have the interesting card, Stifle. This is not a card you see outside of like Stifle not strategies generally. So it's kind of interesting in why it's being run here. Now obviously, a lot of Delver decks in the past, like in the old Rug Delver days, used to run Stifle as like a part of their mana dial package, so they could Stifle something in Wasteland. And then your fetch land doesn't work, then your non-basic doesn't work, and then all of a sudden you don't get to play the game and you get run over. Now we can obviously do that a little bit with these Stifle, but this can also hit things like Balustrade, Spy triggers, and Undersea Informer triggers, so it just gives us a little bit more flexibility on that role. We can also Stifle the enters the battlefield effect of an Atraxa. So there's some interesting things we can do with this. Obviously the synergy between this and Cori-Steel Cutter isn't great, because we're kind of looking to play a bunch of stuff on our turn here with our like Sorcery Speed cantrips and Mishra's Baubles to trigger the Cori-Steel Cutter and attack. So Stifle might be a difficult thing to play this and another spell on the same turn to get a token, and we're trying to leverage all of our spells to give us like half of a Cori-Steel Cutter token. Mana base wise, we do have the 1-of Basic Island, which is not something you always see in these lists, but we got ourselves 4 Volcanics, 1 Thundering Falls, and just a bunch of fetches. Sideboard wise, we got Hydroblast, we got Pyroblasts. A good reason to be blue-red is to have access to those. We've got ourselves a Meltdown, we've got some Graveyard Hate in Surgical and Grafdigger's Cage, Null Rod for the Carnforge style decks of the world, a 1-of Blood Moon for like lands and stuff like that, and then we've got ourselves some Force of Negation to fight over combat decks, and then just a 1-of Submerge. There's a few green decks hanging around, things like the Cradle Control deck, where it's worth resetting a Sidecat card and that sort of jam. Alright, that is the deck. Congratulations to Ocean Soul 92 for winning the Legacy Showcase Challenge. It's a very competitive and difficult tournament to win. And let's see how we fare with their deck. Please remember to like and subscribe, and let's just get stuck in. For the best Eternal experience this summer, check out Eternal Mania in Hasselt, Belgium from August 8th to 10th. Aside from hosting the European Legacy Masters, they have a whole host of other tournaments from team trios to old school and pre-modern. I will be there playing Legacy and hanging out as a special guest. This will also be the first event that I'll be giving out my own special Marit Lage tokens, so why not come down to enjoy an awesome weekend ran by one of the best TOs in Europe. Okay, we've got the ability to ponder. We're probably looking for another land, but I think that's fine. We'll keep this. If we ponder and miss and we get wastelanded, it can be a bit awkward. But any land, and we just back in it with our cantrips. It's not often that wasteland in the Delver deck is a great thing to do. Because the deck is so efficient and low to the ground, we can just kind of roll with all the tools we have. We just need one land and all of a sudden we're up and running again. But if we hang out a Volcanic Island and just cast a Ponder, then our opponent might just take the opportunity, because that's kind of like a free wasteland. Because normally you don't wasteland Delver because they have pressure in play. And that you generally want the mana from the wasteland to help pay for Dazes if you can. But just resetting the game might be a fine thing. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We need to get our opponent to decide if they're keeping their hand, and then we can just Ponder. Volcanic. Let's cast the Ponder. The Ponder digs more. Okay, interesting. Obviously, I like having the Channeler. Are we losing to Wasteland or not is the question. I think I'm going to shuffle this. We just want to make sure that we secure another land, and we found it. Okay. If our opponent Wastelands us, I'm going to feel very smart. Otawara. Lotus Spells. There's probably no Wastelands in our opponent's deck. Mishra's Bauble, we're probably on some sort of like Painter / 8-cast type strategy. Could be like dual combo. But it looks a lot more like a sort of paintery build. The 8-cast decks have pretty much just become painter decks now. No one's trying to win with fair creatures anymore. And Emery. So they've assembled the Emery Bauble combo, so they can just draw an additional card every turn. So we need to answer this Emery. So Lightning Bolt would be a good way to do it. But let's see what turns up for us. Flooded Strand. Okay, I'm going to play out the Flooded Strand and cast a Brainstorm. None of these are the cards we want. So we had a tempo play of balancing this out of play, but I think it was better to try and find one of our 6 full-on answers to it. So what are we getting rid of here? I want to keep a Wasteland because our opponent is an Urza Saga deck. Do we need this land? Probably not. Let's crack this. Go and get a Volcanic and cast this Ponder. Hopefully our Daze can pick something up here. Dragon's Rage Channeler does start getting the bits in. But I would rather just find one of our removal spells. Okay, we found the Channeler anyway. Alright. How many cards does our opponent get off of this? Also, they are showing us Galvanic Blast, which is a bit unusual. So maybe our opponent's on a bit more of a brew. Yep, so we're going to get the Bauble back. Hopefully we can pick up something with this Daze. But the amount of mana our opponent has is a lot. Yeah, so we're just going to get buried by this card advantage now. This is going to be one that we win from the sideboard with Meltdown and Null Rod. There's this Bauble. Sure. Okay, so I can Cori-Steel Cutter and make a guy if I want to. Or I can Dragon's Rage Channeler, Preordain, looking for the removal spell for this Emery. Now, part of the problem we have is that our opponent has 6 cards in hand, so answering this Emery isn't really the be-all and end-all. I think we've just lost this one already. I think we need to get aggressive now. So I think we play the Cori-Steel Cutter, and then we can deploy the Channeler, and that will give us a proc on the Cori-Steel Cutter, because this is just spells. It doesn't care what type of spells. And then next turn we can try and assemble a team. So we're not attacking with our Cori-Steel Cutter, because we don't want to just let them block with their Thought Monitor and then bring it back with Emery. So we're just passing the turn, and then next turn we're going to be trying to cantrip our way into something else. Okay, so they've got a Galvanic Blast. So they've got different tools to what you would normally expect from one of these sort of blue 8 cast decks because of the red. I don't know how deep their red splash is going. Great Furnace. Are they doing any sort of like Goblin Welder type stuff? Possibly. But we are very far behind here. Our opponent's drawing an additional card every turn. A 3-4 is so big. We don't have... Do we have Delirium yet? We do have Delirium. So we can kill the Memory Guardian with an Unholy Heat. That's pretty much the only thing that kills it. We can bounce the Memory Guardian out with this Brazen Borrower, but they know we have it. I don't know how we're supposed to win this game, if I'm being honest with you. Maybe a Murktide. That's the sort of big play that might be able to get there. It's not going to die to red removal. Okay, a Lightning Bolt. A little bit late. I think we Preordain first. We have the most amount of understanding of what our options are. A Cori-Steel Cutter. Now that does allow us to go kind of wide. I don't want this Force of Will. If we take the Cori-Steel Cutter, next turn we can play it and borrow something. Or we could just play it now and have a Lightning Bolt up. It's also fine. So we'll only get a token from the first Cori-Steel Cutter, not the second one. So the second one is on the stack when we're casting our second spell because it is our second spell. And then we can attack with this Monk token. I could shoot this Emery first and then see if they want to block with their guy. Okay, so I can attack my 4-4 here. So we need to be aggressive here. Otherwise, we're just going to get buried by the cards our opponent accrued. Because they're like 8 cards deeper into their deck than we are. That is a lot. That's like a whole extra opening hand. Now, they do have a lot of like bits here that aren't necessarily that impressive. A Dragon's Rage Channeler. Okay, I will play Dragon's Rage Channeler. And then I'm going to Petty Theft this Memory Guardian. This will give us a Cori-Steel Cutter trigger, as well as our Dragon's Rage Channeler trigger. A Force of Will on the Petty Theft. I don't think it's worth popping one of these. We'll just allow that one. A Stifle. Is that something we want right now? I don't think so. We attack with everything here. This is half our opponent's life total. Am I wastelanding here? What use is wastelanding? We can take them off of red, but they have all these things. I don't think mana is where our opponent is really getting things going here. And maybe we can use this mana next turn to equip a Cori-Steel Cutter to something like a Murktide Regent. And that would be pretty big news. A Memory Guardian. They have a big creature here, but we can go wide. So if we have a spell, then we can go wide of one creature quite easily. Are they going to poke for any damage here? They did not. A cantrip would be relatively good here. Okay, I'm going to play a Cori-Steel Cutter, I guess. We get a bunch of triggers. Okay, so we're going to hold priority here. We're going to see what our Dragon's Rage Channeler flips over. This is pretty good for next turn, so I'll leave that on top. So the question here is, do I want to get more tokens this turn? I think I do. So I think we go target our own spell here. Blink back our Volcanic Island. And then we should be able to go wide here. I did not think we were winning this one, but here we are. We're in a pretty good position. So yes to this. Yes to this. I'll pay for this Daze. We get our Steel Cutter in. There's a lot of damage. And we win it. Okay, I thought we were losing that one the entire time, but Cori-Steel Cutter made so much power there. And by doing that Daze, we ended up with these 2 extra bodies, and our bodies ended up 1 bigger. So if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have the 2 bodies, so we'd just be attacking with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. They get to block 3 of them, so they only take 5. So the Daze play was the thing that got us there. Okay, pretty incredible we won that one. I can't say I'm unhappy about it. Let's have some Meltdowns, some Pyroblast, some Null Rod. We've seen red. I don't know how deep into the red our opponent is, so I'm not sure if I want to be going like full Hydroblast just for what might be just Galvanic Blast. I think that's called Galvanic Blast. So do I want these Grafdigger's cages? Because they stop our opponent from casting things with Embry. Is that how we're tackling the Embry? I don't know. How useful is Stifle in this matchup? Uncertain. The Dazes don't look very good here, especially on the draw. So we'll take out the Dazes and maybe we'll just trim on 1 Stifle, and then we can keep like a bunch of stuff that's going to be easier to trigger our Cori-Steel Cutter. So Null Rod and Steel Cutter isn't actually that much of a nombo because we're rarely actually equipping this, we're just making tokens for free. It is a bit of a nombo with our Mishra's Baubles though. But I think we want the Baubles so that we can power out Cori-Steel Cutter stuff. But maybe we're supposed to trim on the Bauble rather than the Stifle. Or maybe we can have like a Miser's Daze in there, which will sometimes come in clutch. I doubt it though, because it doesn't seem useful in this matchup too much. Alright, we'll have a Miser's Daze and see how we feel. Okay, this Force of Will isn't really doing us any good, but we have Dragon's Rage Channeler, Cori-Steel Cutter, and removal for things like Emery, which is how our opponent can get out of hand. Alright, so they have Metalcraft, so they can fire in an Emery here if they want to. Or they can play their entire hand. Go ahead, opponent. Thoughtcast, sure. A Bauble. This is one of the reasons I don't particularly like playing 8-cast style decks, because I don't like having a bunch of just blanks. Like, at least when you're playing a tempo-y style deck, all your cantrips look at multiple cards. These are just random cards. So maybe they don't have a plan, maybe they have a really good plan. And that's kind of like a weird way to play for me personally. I know a lot of people do get on with this sort of style, but it's never something that I quite get on with. Another lightning bolt, you say? Okay. Let's get our 1 mana 1/1 in. And then we've got some lightning bolts. And we've got this Cori-Steel Cutter as well. A Thought Monitor. Yep, have some extra cards there, opponents. This returns target creature, so it can bounce their own Thought Monitor. Another Thought Monitor. Yeah, that's not great for us, is it? Whereas this is definitely the upside of having all these little trinkets and stuff, because you get to power out cards that also draw you things. What am I doing here? I could just play out the Cori-Steel Cutter, but is that going to resolve? Alright, I think we're just going to play out the Cori-Steel Cutter this turn. And then start going wide if we can. Because at least our opponent is going to have to pitch cast a Force of Will. Oh yes, I would love this Cori-Steel Cutter on top of my library. So we can play that and the Lightning Bolt next turn. Sure. Force of Will, not doing anything. We don't get to attack yet, but we can amass a lot of tokens in the very near future. So, Steel Cutter, Lightning Bolt their guy. Let's see if they get busy with some attacks. Alright, we know where our Lightning Bolt is going. Haywire Might. This can obviously blow up our Cori-Steel Cutter, which they're immediately going to do. Yep. That is unfortunate, but we do have another one. Memory Guardian. Yep, that guy is big. Flipping our Dragon's Rage Channeler isn't the best thing for us either. Again, this one feels like it's going to be an uphill battle. But we did win the uphill battle last time, so... Another Lightning Bolt. Okay, I guess we keep these. Let's get rid of this Emery. Make ourselves a token here. We're not attacking. But our opponent's got what? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they've got us on an almost 2-turn clock. But hopefully we can clap back pretty hard with all these lightning bolts. If we can... Okay, they're bouncing their own Thought Monitor. I thought that might be a play that they would do, which is why I didn't really want to point. I guess they could have bounced and saved their Emery as well. It's interesting they chose the Thought Monitor. So we're taking 5s as a 3-turn clock. Alright, so now we have a target for our Wasteland. A Galvanic Blast on our poor defenseless Dragon's Rage Channeler. Sure. I wonder how smooth the mana is for our opponent. Because obviously, the red spell's looking pretty good here, but there is a cost for it. And we don't necessarily get to see it all the time. Let's have a look at... Are we just... I think we're just preserving our life total here by lightning bolting some of their guys. Get this going. Kill this guy as well. Just get a Cori-Steel Cutter trigger. Let's take out this Saga. And we'll attack for 5. We are behind on the race, but if we draw an additional spell so we get to make another token, then all of a sudden we're doing alright. Ancient Tomb, probably not what our opponent wants to see at this stage of the game. This looks like a hard cast. Force of Will might be in our future. But that's fine as long as we get to cast the spells. Alright, Ponder into Lightning Bolt is pretty excellent. Pyroblast is an absolute banger. So next turn we can go Cori-Steel Cutter and Pyroblast. No, because we don't have the land. I do like the Pyroblast a lot, though. In fact, I probably like the Pyroblast more than this Lightning Bolt right now. Which probably means we go... Tarn... Cutter... Blast. Let's blow up that permanent that is blue. Which gets us some more power in play. And then we're crashing for 8. Alright, this feels great. This Cori-Steel Cutter card. Quite the Magic the Gathering card. So this turn we're just attacking for a little bit. Is that true? So this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I just Lightning Bolt our opponent, they do die. Let's just do that. Okay. Alright. That felt pretty good. So Cori-Steel Cutter has definitely been a thing that lets us turn the corner a lot more than these temper decks would normally do if we're just playing like Delvers and Dragon's Rage Channelers. Card is great. Let's go to round 2. If you're going to MagicCon Las Vegas this year, from the 20th of June to the 22nd of June, you can catch my sponsor 3-for-1 Trading there. They'll be buying up collections as well as selling some well-priced singles to help you get all that sweet legacy goodness that you need for your deck. Okay, I can keep this. I'm not sure what I'm playing on turn 1. It might just be Polluted Delta, hold up for Surveil Land. That way we can't get Wastelanded. We can just get a Cori-Steel Cutter going. We can play a Lightning Bolt if that's necessary. And then we can save this for fuel for the Cori-Steel Cutter. I will go and get a Surveil Land here. Start working towards Delirium, making sure our draws are smoother. A Murktide Regent. We are not really about that right now, are we? That can go into the graveyard. Alright, I'll play a Volcanic. I will play out this Cori-Steel Cutter. I'm not going to try and play around a Daze here. Alright, we're just in. Excellent. We need to be a little bit foot on the gas compared to some decks that are playing Ponders. So we need to try and leverage our aggressive tools by deploying them early. Now, if this didn't work, then next time we can try and ponder into a different threat. But as it stands, I like our spot. Now, our opponent could be a combo deck, and we might be about to lose. Let's draw an extra card here. A Daze. Okay, so now they have a Daze that we know about. They might just go and get a Surveil Land here. They are, okay. So we don't actually have that information. Alright, something end of turn here? No. They were just shuffling so that we didn't know the card they had. 2 Wastelands when our opponent's just got a basic island. Not ideal, but we've seen a Daze, so they probably have some more tempo elements. Yep, okay, so they are blue-black tempo. I'm going to play this Wasteland. I'm going to deploy this Cori-Steel Cutter. And hold up this Wasteland, I think. Let's get Steel Cutter going. There's not a window where they can Bowmaster this guy down. So it comes in and gets the token. Oh, sorry, gets the equipment. So we can swing for a chunk here. Got an Orcish Bowmasters over there, opponent. They do have an Orcish Bowmasters. But they're trading for a thing that isn't a real card here. It does mean that cracking this Bauble is a bit of a cost for us. But I think we just leave it in play for now. I will take my opponent off of mana. So what we can do is we can use this Bauble in our opponent's turn, and then on our turn, we can fire off this lightning bolt at this Orcish Bowmaster in response to the trigger, and then we can cast our Ponder. Verdant Catacombs, sure. Let's lightning bolt this guy. Then we get to draw a card in peace, and then we get to draw our card for turn. Then we cast a Ponder. Is it better to cast a Ponder here? I think so. I guess we play out the Volk. And then I will cast this Ponder. And then we also play this Bauble when our opponent dies. Oh, this Cori-Steel Cutter card is so sweet. So this is probably not a matchup for Force of Wills. Orcish Bowmaster is not really main deck in the reanimated decks as a general rule. So how do we get rid of their big creatures? So Orcish Bowmaster is something we can obviously pick up with our red spells. The Barrogoyf is a little trickier. So we could play some Pyroblasts. We could play a Blood Moon and just shut them off with mana. That's kind of interesting. I think I'd like to have a Force of Will in here. I'm just debating if we need all of these Pyroblasts, or if we're just going to split the difference and have like 2 Forces, 2 Pyroblasts. Because Pyroblast is going to be good against some of their things. So it kills Kaito, which is kind of the main one here. Maybe I do want this just because Kaito is such a problem. Although Cori-Steel Cutter is so good against Kaito. Also, Stifle is very good against Kaito because Ninjutsu is an activated ability. So they activate it and then you stifle it. Their creature gets bounced, but then they get to not put their Kaito in. Do I want this many lands? We have an answer for Bowmasters. We can ponder around, but I just think this is too many lands. Yeah, this hand is much better. And we probably get rid of the most situational card, which is Stifle. As much as I adore playing Stifles. A Nethergoyf, just a guy. That's fine. We're going to deploy our Dragon's Rage Channel this turn. I think our 1-drop is superior to the Nethergoyf. Card selection and evasion. And usually the Nethergoyf doesn't get much bigger than a 3-4. Alright. The Bowmasters here is annoying, but at least we didn't get Wastelanded off of our only red source. So this is probably going to be a game brought to you by Cori-Steel Cutter. Have all the games been so far. Okay, lightning bolts, that's nice. I am just going to deploy the Steel Cutter here. We can't afford to play around Daze given the amount of pressure our opponent's putting up here. Alright, they do have the Daze. That sucks. They're going to take us off red mana here. Another Wasteland. Okay, they're definitely going to take us off of something here. The Null Spell can take us off of Delirium. Well, they don't have the black mana for this. They're doing this because it grows their Nethergoyf. Puts an artifact into the graveyard. Keeping their Nethergoyf out of lightning bolt range is obviously something our opponent wants to do. Right, I think we are in trouble here. I'm not casting a Brainstorm. I can cast a Ponder though. Okay. I kind of want the removal spell on top of my library. But I also need to not take a lot of damage here. And they're sat there with a Wasteland. Right, we'll see if they'll use their Wasteland for other stuff so we can get 2 red spells out of this land that we're going to fetch. We are unfortunately playing ourselves into Daze a little bit. Whereas we could have just bolted the Bowmasters, then unlocked our Brainstorm next turn. But if we can get our opponent to use this Wasteland for mana, then maybe we can be alright. Right, Nethergoyf up to 4-5. I don't think they're going to use this mana, are they? I think we're just going to get Wastelanded here. But we may as well preserve our life total a little bit. Actually, it doesn't really make any difference, right? Because that was the only first creature in their graveyard. So the damage isn't actually any different here. Doesn't mean we can Brainstorm, but how are we going to Brainstorm and beat the Nethergoyf? Unholy Heat. We have 3 card types in graveyard. I don't know how we're supposed to put a 4th in there. Oh, that's how we put a 4th in there. But we don't have the red mana, so we're just dead. Alright, let's be on the play. Yeah, this all seems fine. It's a lot of Pyroblast though. Maybe we will ease back and take a Force. I don't really like Force in the matchup though. Because we don't want to pitch 2 cards to do a thing. Maybe I do just want the Pyroblasts. We could play the Blood Moon. No lands, so we're going to mulligan this one. Okay, I'll keep this. Let's put away the basic. So we're going to play the Scalding Tarn and we're going to Mishra's Bauble ourselves, and then we can use an Unholy Heat. Do I want an Unholy Heat? We already have 2 of those. I'm going to go and get Thundering Falls here instead. A Stifle. Don't want a Stifle. Not really. We want our opponent to think about it though. Looking for threats here. Alright, that's a threat, and we've been filling up our graveyard nicely. Excellent. This is a threat that doesn't die to Fatal Push, and is obviously big enough. It can contend with a lot of things our opponent can put down. A Nile Spellbomb. When do they want to crack that is the question. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're pretty close. I'm going to play out the Scalding Tarn and pass. So next turn we can make Murktide Regent. Hopefully we can fire off a Lightning Bolt here. I'm not just going to go upstairs to the Lightning Bolt though. That doesn't feel like a great use of our mana. I'll play this. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I okay just playing a 4/4 Murktide? Honestly, I think so. Let's crack this. If our opponent... Yeah. If our opponent wants to crack this Nile Spellbomb, now is the time to do it. Or after we crack this fetch. It's fine. Don't do it, opponent. Yeah. So they get a cantrip here. I will just get another Volk. And I'll pass. So it's very telegraphed that we had a Murktide if we're not playing anything after fetching like that. And we're going to continue to rebuild a Tamiyo. I would like to Lightning Bolt that Tamiyo, please. A Daze. Not the most useful. I'm going to keep these Volcanic Islands in hand so we can brainstorm them back into our deck later. If we start getting Wastelanded, we can play some more stuff. If we keep playing lands in there, our opponent's never going to use Wastelands. And if they use Wastelands, that's actually good for us because we don't care about that. They're going to have to go to clean up here. They've got 8 cards in hand. They got rid of a Kaito. A Brainstorm. So we can Brainstorm with removal as well. That seems fine. This is going to be the Bowmasters. We've got the Unholy Heat, so we let the Bowmasters come in and then we heat it. We can Daze to protect that if we need to. So we get our Brainstorm off. Our opponent's struggling on mana, so I quite like that. We've got a land that we can play. We're not doing Murktide stuff just yet, so I guess we put Murktide on top. And then, am I playing the Cori-Steel Cutter this turn? Or am I saving this? I think I am playing the Cori-Steel Cutter this turn. Just getting it out there. We can Daze to protect this, which puts the Surveil land back in our hand. So Pyroblast can target stuff. It doesn't have to be blue. It's an intervening if clause, so it only does the effect if the thing is blue. So we can point it at stuff just to get triggers for our Cori-Steel Cutter. Oh, that is annoying. Okay. I think I stacked my Brainstorm the wrong way around as well here because we're going to draw a land instead of the Murktide. Yep, so we can't use this to put the Murktide in the bin because we want the Murktide. So we're just going to hold. We've got Daze and Pyroblast. Maybe we were supposed to defend the Cori-Steel Cutter instead. A Brainstorm. I quite like Pyroblasting this. Our opponent's kind of not doing anything over there. I don't want them to make land drops. This gives us max size Murktide as well. Let's get our Thundering Falls first. And Mishra's Bauble. We don't really need that, do we? And have a big boy. Shoulder's Edict. No, thank you. Let's bounce our Thundering Falls. I don't believe our opponent's going to be attacking this turn. Cori-Steel Cutter. Let's get a Surveil land in. Don't need another land. So we could have played the other land and got in for 1 extra damage here. And give ourselves a 2-turn clock. But I believe holding out for the higher payoff with the Cori-Steel Cutter makes more sense. We're going to use this as spell 1 and then play another spell. And try and get this in for 2 damage next turn for lethal. Or not for lethal because they have an Orc army, but... Alright, they're attacking. They don't have the mana to put in a Kaito here. It's just they're not blocking with this. They may as well get the chip shot in, but that means they are exposed to Cori-Steel Cutter being lethal. We're getting Edicted again. We're getting Borrowed. What is this? Feed the Cycle. Additional costs to cast a spell, forage or pay black. Destroy target creature. Where's forage? Exile 3 cards in the graveyard or sacrifice it. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Cool. Not seen that card before. Let's deploy our threat. Let's activate our threat with this Brainstorm. A Stifle. Okay, I will assume the position of being the bad guy here. Let's attack with our Monk token. And now we're just going to stifle our opponent's next fetch land, I guess. Keep them out of Barragoyfs and the Kaito. Strategic Betrayal. Yeah, that's very good against what we're doing. We don't have anything happening on our next turn because we just got land on top. And then the turn after, we don't really have anything going on either. It's our opponent's game to win at this point, I think. They got 5 cards in hand. We were kind of out of gas for a bit. Okay, they didn't try and put in a Kaito there. Get Stifled. Just keep them off of all their big 3-drops, which must be what's in their hand right now. Okay. Orcish Bowmasters, very good against us. I'm glad we didn't board in the Blood Moon, because this situation wouldn't have been great in. Green mana. That is very late in the day for us to discover they have green mana in their deck. Witherbloom Command. Yep, that is a good reason to be playing green, isn't it? I think our opponent has done just enough by being slightly bigger than we are. Like, they've got more controlling elements than we have. We just couldn't quite get underneath everything. Daze is not really the one. I think the one thing we could have done differently here was the turn we played out the Cori-Steel Cutter, we could have just waited and then played it the following turn and then protected it with a Pyroblast. Alright, they're going to put a Kaito in here. No, no Kaito. Let's get rid of this Tropical Island. So I can cast this Brainstorm and we will die on the next turn if we do. If we don't, we basically die on the next turn anyway. Alright. Sometimes you got to do horrible looking things. So this Lightning Bolt is not enough to kill this Bowmaster token. Yeah, we're just dead here. GG's opponent. Some pretty good games though. Let's go to round 3. Alright, we have to mulligan this because there's no workable mana sources. And same again. And same again. Wowzers trousers. We only get 4 cards here. Land, Ponder, Lightning Bolt, I guess. Second land drop? Or we could... Yeah, I think we just keep the second land drop here. Yuck, that was pretty horrible. Our opponent probably thinks we're on some terrifying combo deck, when actually we just had no lands in our hands with just a perfectly fair deck. Alright, we've got plenty of lands, so that's okay. We're going to Ponder now. Our opponent could be a Bowmaster deck. We don't have to worry about that here. A Force of Will isn't really the sort of thing I'm after. I think it's in any order and shuffle. This is going to be a difficult one for us to get back into just with our horrifically low mulligan. But we had to. We have to have a coloured mana source on opening hand. We can't keep a hand with like Wastelands and nothing else. Brainstorm for our opponents, so this means that we can Brainstorm next turn without worrying about something like Orcish Bowmasters. A Delver of Secrets. Okay, so we're on Grixis tempo over there. Given how far behind we are, probably need to... I kind of want to Brainstorm, but I don't want our Lightning Bolt to be dazed. Right, we're just going to Lightning Bolt now. And then we can Thundering Falls. A Force of Will. Pitching another Force of Will. Okay, I'm not going to play into Daze here. We need to make sure that every single card that we play does something here. We can't just spew off stuff into a potential Daze here. They did not flip the Delver. We're going to get a Thundering Falls. Get a little bit of Surveil action. So what we really need to do here is control our opponent's threats and then land a Murktide or something. That's the big thing that gets into this game. This is probably not going to be a Cori-Steel Cutter game because we're on so low resources. It's going to be a little bit tricky to leverage unless we just have like endless cantrips. So we just cantrip into cantrip into cantrip. Another Volcanic for our opponent. Going to get jabbed for 1. Going to get our Thundering Falls here. We do not need another land. Right, we can play a Wasteland here. We can Wasteland this Underground Sea. And Orcish Bowmasters. I would like to Brainstorm in response to the Bowmaster. This is the reason we did this. We do give our opponent the opportunity to Daze here. Let's get rid of this Bowmasters. And then I can afford to... If our opponent flips a Daze off the top, we can worry about that later. They have flipped a Daze. Do I now bolt this in response? I think so. If I put this Daze in their hands. Oh, they had another Daze in hand anyway. So we're kind of in garbage time, as people like to call it, where we've kind of thrown our hands at the wall, and then this is just the bits and pieces that are left. Oh, they got a Murktide. Yikes. Okay, we are losing this one. It was a Multi 4, so I wasn't expecting to necessarily win if we were in a pseudo mirror. They've got 1 card in hand, and it's a Daze. We know the top card of our library is the Preordain. I thought about stacking it the other way so that we could have the Brazen Borrower instead of the Preordain. But then I just ended up stacking it. The Preordain. We should have put the Preordain here instead of the land as well. We don't actually have a good answer for this Murktide, do we? I think we can just concede this one, actually. We're not beating this. I guess we could make our own Murktide and trade. But I think we just died to Delver in that situation. So, Hydroblasts seem good here. And the Pyroblasts seem good. How useful are the Hydroblasts is the next question. We definitely don't want Force of Wills. How many red spells is our opponent playing? It's probably just like Lightning Bolt and Molten Collapse. So maybe we don't even want the Hydroblasts. But then we end up needing one of something. So we could just take in like a Force of Will. We could try and take like the Blood Moon and take our opponent off of black. That's kind of a big deal. I don't know, we'll try it. I don't know if this is right or not. I'm going to try it. I think taking our opponent off of black is kind of a big deal. Okay, this hand works for me. Let me go Volk, Dragons, Raised Channeler, Mishra's Bauble, Surveil. Let's get our channeling action down. A Stifle. That's not really what I want. But our opponent might, when they see this, they'll play around it. I will just get some information and draw a card. A Molten Collapse. Yeah, so this is basically, might be the only, this and Pyroblast might be the only red cards in our opponent's deck. Okay, we found the second land. That's good news. So we can go DRC, Preordain, and just fuel this Murktide super quick. A Wasteland. That's not really where you want to be, in my opinion, opponent. We'd like to find another land here, just to make sure we're not getting wastelanded. So I think I'm just going to play this Channeler. Just be aggressive. Our opponents shouldn't be wastelanding in the face of 2 threats in play. So I don't believe they should wasteland. I'm surprised they wastelanded that turn. Kind of suggests they didn't have a lot going on. Because you tend not to wasteland yourself off of lands when you're behind on board. That's generally not what you want to do. I don't think we want to daze this. I think we have better targets for our dazes. I don't know if I'm going to play a... Would I play a Wasteland if I drew one? Maybe. Let's Preordain here. So we're going to have instant, sorcery, artifact, land. So we're going to hit our Delirium when this Preordain resolves. So we're going to take this Wasteland. I like the Brainstorm as well. So we go top, top, get the Wasteland, Wasteland our opponent. And now we're cracking for 6 a turn. We've got the Daze backing this up. Next turn we can play Murktide with Daze back up. Our opponent is a long way from this Molten Collapse. Underground Sea. A Hydroblast targeting our guy. Do I want to Daze this? Or am I using this Daze to protect the Murktide Regent next turn? Sure, I'll protect the Murktide Regent. I think that's just a bigger payoff here. Is that true? Murktide Regent's not even going to be that big. Okay, we will Daze this. I changed my mind. We also get double Surveil, which is a lot of looks. The Brainstorm, we already knew we had that on top, didn't we? Sure, we'll just leave this on top. Our opponent's going to Daze as well. So they're setting themselves further back. And we are coming in with more damage than they are because their guy isn't flipped yet. They're getting for 1, we're getting for 3. We have the Volcanic Island for next turn. So we could play this for Thundering Falls, which can then pivot into Pyroblast if we want it. But saving this to go with our Brainstorm is just generally better. I think I will play this Volcanic and then attack. Let's pop out our graveyard. How big is our Murktide? 1, 2, 3. So we can Brainstorm and maybe make it into the full 8. Because we just want to make sure we have the biggest one. A Lightning Bolt targeting our Dragon's Rage Channeler. You can Surveil. I think I will Brainstorm here. See if we can make our thing bigger. Cori-Steel Cutter isn't really what I'm about right now, is it? How are we getting around this Molten Collapse is the next question. I don't think it's a Steel Cutter. We're looking for... Okay, it's just another Steel Cutter. So we just put back Murktides. Sure, so we've lost our guy. But we can make a small Murktide. And then if they want to Molten Collapse, it's a bit more awkward for them. So we just need to make it a 4/4. So it doesn't die to any red removal. And the next one we can remove 1, 2, 3 things. If we draw a land, we can maybe lightning bolt first. Yep, so this is going to be the Molten Collapse. But that means our bigger one gets to live. There it is. Okay. Alternatively, if we draw the land, we can go Steel Cutter, Lightning Bolt. And that's pretty strong. 2 cards in our opponent's hand. Steel Cutter, Bauble, pretty good. There's a Daze on top. Okay, that's good to know about. We got a Bowmaster. Of course they have a Bowmaster. They always have the Bowmaster. Alright, so we're going to lose our Monk token here. That is irritating. Unholy Heat. Sure. So we can sweep out both of their guys next turn and attack with the Cori-Steel Cutter token. They'll be left with an Orc army, I think. Or we could get rid of the Orc army and just reduce their power. It means that cantrips get worse for us. But it means we're taking less damage immediately. We know they've got a Daze here, though. A Brainstorm. It's not the one, is it? Okay, so we're definitely killing this. This will just get the Daze out of our opponent's hand. Am I okay with that? Yes. I think I am okay with that. If we get the Daze out of our opponent's hand, we can cast the Murktide next turn. Yep, there it is. This little merry dance we are doing with our permission spells. So they crack us for 3. I think we hold here. Because this is not really an object. We don't care about losing this. And if this stops our opponent from attacking us, that's pretty good. So our opponent's got a land and 1 mystery card in hand, I think. Or 2 mystery cards now if they've drawn for turn. Is this another Bowmaster? Or just the Murktide? We're going to be doing dueling Murktides. We might be. Oh, that's only a 6/6. Why did they not make it full size? Yep, I'll block with this free thing that I acquired. To keep our opponent's stuff off the board. This feels like our opponent must have a Murktide. It's obviously pretty bad news for us. So we've got lots of instants. So let's take the instants first. Yeah, we have to take all of our instants and sorceries here, don't we? We need to have the biggest Murktide in town. But if they play a Murktide here, how many do they have? 1, 2. So this will become an 8/8 as well. We don't have to trade. Although, how are we going to beat the other Murktide? So they might have just left these things in for Delirium. Yes. Okay, so it's a Dragon's Rage Channeler. That's better for us. This Bowmaster is really annoying me, though. Need to find a way around this. Am I willing to ponder here? I think I am willing to ponder. Not willing to brainstorm, but I'm willing to ponder. Sometimes you got to do some ugly looking things. Tamiyo? We're looking for removal here, aren't we? We've got Pyroblast and all sorts in here. Obviously that isn't it. Yep, you can get your ping off. I'll play this, get my Cori-Steel Cutter token. Have we used Thundering Falls yet? Let me check my exile pile. We have not used Thundering Falls, so I will play this out. If I attack here, our opponent has to trade. If I give this Trample, it becomes 9, and they go to 6. They go to, and then they kill us on a crackback. So yeah, this is not a turn to attack. Next turn, though, we can force the chump with a Murktide. We need our opponent to sort of brick for a turn, ideally. Our opponent's deck is quite similar to ours in a lot of ways. They've got Bowmasters instead of Cori-Steel Cutter. It's kind of the main difference. They probably have some black removal in there as well, instead of our Unholy Heats. But if we can get a free kill on this Channeler, then we can put our opponent in check, because we can attack for 8. They have to block with the Murktide. Murktide goes away. They don't kill us on the crackback, and then they're dead to the Murktide the following turn. I think making this Murktide in a way that didn't make it the largest it could be was a real problem for our opponent. They're attacking with both here. I guess that's the thing they have to do here. If they have Lightning Bolt, they kill our Murktide. But if they have Lightning Bolt and we don't block the Murktide, we die. So I would rather live. Lightning Bolt on the Murktide, as expected. We just needed you to not have it for 1 turn, opponent. Am I cracking this Bauble? Is that the world we're living in? I don't believe it is. We need to draw another Murktide, I guess. So this is Thundering Falls. We get a 4. Wasteland is not really the one right now. We need to answer this Dragon's Rage Channeler. We can't cast this Brainstorm. Can't cast that Brainstorm either. So if we cast the Brainstorm, we go to 1, they get this, and then what? I guess we have to just cast it because we're dead next turn regardless, right? Wow, I hate this. I guess the other option was to just Bauble. Does this Lightning Bolt do anything here? We can bolt this, chum block this, but then we die to the Bowmaster still. No, we don't have a way through. Those games are really tight. I think the big decider was the fact that we mulliganed to 4 in game 1, and we just didn't really have a proper game, whereas I think we were actually would have been all right. Like, we weren't a million miles away on a multi 4. Okay, let's go to round 4. Whilst I may not play Pauper, I know a lot of you lovely people out there do, so I thought I'd let you know about a great charity Pauper tournament happening in upstate New York on the 21st of June. The tournament is in support of the Trevor Project and Trans Lifeline, so sign up to help a worthy cause and have fun doing it. It's a troubling time for our trans comrades out there, so show them that you've got their back. Click the link in the description of this video for more details. Right, I can keep this. Are we playing the Channeler or the Tamiyo? Ancient Tomb. Are we pitching something to Force of Will? We are. What are we pitching? Usually in these sorts of matchups, the Tamiyo isn't really where I want to be, so I'm going to pitch the Tamiyo. I could Wasteland our opponent, but I would like to get a threat in. I think that is really important, and if our opponent's tapping this Ancient Tomb, that's good news for us. I'd rather Wasteland like an Urza's Saga or something. We are very much trying to reduce our opponent's life total to 0, so if their Ancient Tomb is helping us on that front every turn, that's good. Blood Moon. Okay. We do have a basic island in our deck. It's not going to be easy from this point onwards. Cori-Steel Cutter is a hell of a Magic the Gathering card. Was this the One Ring? Broadside Bombardier, isn't it? Okay, no, sorry, it can't be the One Ring. So we get to kill their guy. Not bad. Surveil. Sure, I'll leave that on top for now. It's a card we can cast. I'll take it. I imagine our opponent has Urza Saga, since this is with the Urza Saga change is now legal on Magic Online. So Urza Saga doesn't die to Blood Moon, and it retains any abilities it's gained since it's been in play. So you can get like an unwastelandable construct factory thing, which is pretty good. Chromox. Okay, they got was this a Fury? Yeah, we can wrap that one up. Like, yeah, we can draw lightning bolts and stuff, but I don't think that's a great place for us to be there. Okay, so Hydroblast, please. I think the Force of Negations are pretty good too. Meltdown has some uses on top of that. Daze is not a card I like that much in this matchup. Stifle is not great. We can Stifle like a One Ring trigger, but I don't think that's what we're holding up for. Just get rid of some Dazes here. I could play a Null Rod to shut down the One Ring, but I think the plan is to use our Force of Negations and Force of Wills to stop that, and then maybe just punish them for drawing the extra cards, because their life total is going to be under threat from it. Would I like to have a Miser's Daze or a Miser's Stifle? That is an interesting choice. I think it's a Miser's Stifle, actually. Stifling a key Broadside Bombardiers could be quite fun. No lands again. No lands again. Is our mana base fine? Like 2 rounds, like 2 games in 4 rounds where we have to mull to 5 to even find a land. Okay, I guess we have to keep it. Let's put back a Wasteland and Force of Negation. I don't like our chances. Cori-Steel Cutter, we don't need that yet. This is an artifact for a Delirium though. Chromox, sure. We don't have a choice. We have to answer this chalice. I'll play the thing we have. Our opponent should be able to run us over pretty handily here. We just don't have the critical mass of resources required to stem the tide of what our opponent's doing and also close the door. A chalice. Okay, so that's the cards in our hand dealt with. We can fire these off to get some Delirium triggers. That feels horrible though. Blood Moon or Bombardiers? Alright, you got it. Please throw your chalice, I guess. I might throw the Chromox at the Dragon's Rage Channeler. They're playing another Chalice of the Void. I think we know where this one is going. Alright, we will try and get some Delirium going here. Another land isn't what we want right now. That does get us closer to Delirium. So this gets countered. So we've got Artifact, Instant. Okay, I guess we're going to try and save our guy. Can we mill over a creature? We can. So now the chance doesn't kill our guy. We did the thing that we could do. I guess we're not brainstorming anytime soon, so we may as well just play out some lands. Maybe we can take out an Urza Saga before it learns to make any mana at all. Lelia the Blade Reforged. We are not winning this race. Cori-Steel Cutter could maybe get somewhere, but we're still going to have to draw some other bits and pieces. They brought in Red Blasts, but they're locked under their own chalices. I don't think they need to fling anything. They might just fling the Chrome Mox. No, sorry. Yeah, they might fling the Chrome Mox, take us down to 9. And they've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, they just got another Chrome Mox here. This should be flung at our face, I would imagine. Yep. How are we supposed to win this? Murktide Regent is pretty good. We did not draw a Murktide Regent. So our opponent hits us for 4, 5, 6, and then flings this for another 5. So we are dead. Alright. Yeah. Mulligans have been pretty rough. And our opponent's deck just did what it's supposed to do. Played a big thing that we had to answer, otherwise it cuts out our entire hand. And then they played another one that kind of does the same thing. And then if we can't answer that, then the game's over. Just classic Haymaker, Magic the Gathering there. Alright, 4 rounds in, and we're only a 1 and 3. That's a horrible record. Let's see if we can get a 2-3 in the final round. So, Murktide Regent is something for later. Cori-Steel Cutter requires us to find a little bit more stuff here. I think I'm going to keep it. We're going to treat the Wasteland as a spell and the Polluted Delta as half a spell because it's going to be a Thundering Falls. A Delighted Halfling. Okay. A Force of Will. That makes me want to Unholy Heat this Delighted Halfling. We don't want uncounterable Nardus. The Nardu mid-range deck has actually got one of the better overrep rates in the format right now. So what is this going to be? This is going to go... Am I pitching Force of Will to Murktide Regent to stop this? I think so. I'm not happy about it, but I think we need to do this just... Because otherwise we just get a Delighted Halfling and we're in the exact same problem we were in a second ago. Let's just strip their mana away. And then at some point we'll draw a threat. We're pretty low on juice here. We're going to need to go and get this Thundering Falls going. Scythecat Cub. Yes, this is the Nardu mid-range build. I'm going to play this out. We're not going to play this Cori-Steel Cutter. We want this to be spell 1 of our first Cori-Steel Cutter turn. No additional land for our opponent. We only take 2 damage. We can play another one. They are. My Kingdom for a Pyroclasm. Let's go and get our Thundering Falls. A Brainstorm. Yes, that is good. It's a good Magic the Gathering card. We have to play them in a weird order here if we want to get the Cori-Steel Cutter going, which we do. So we get the Steel Cutter going, and then we Brainstorm. Your last card's Force of Will blue card over there. It is. I can Brainstorm into a Daze here. I think we want to do that. We did not Brainstorm into a Daze. We'll put back 2 lands. Okay. So our opponent's down to just these 2 guys and whatever they got off the top. We've got some cantrips to try and find our way through this. But as soon as you start getting counters, they become very difficult for our red deck to answer. But they clearly don't have a land, otherwise they would have played it and pumped them. And Nomads, sure. There's also the fear of Nardu, but they need 2 draws to get to Nardu. So we want to play and crack this first. And then we want to ponder and then Preordain. A Lightning Bolt. That is one of the cards I'm interested in. And we'll Preordain and put those 2 cards to the bottom. If you want to Brainstorm. Are we brainstorming? I don't think we're doing anything. So we can wait till they put the counters on. And if they target both things on the same guy, we can get around it. Now the issue is... Actually, no, it doesn't matter if they have the fetch land because... Okay, that's fine. So now we can kill whichever one is bigger. Alright, so they're just going to put on the Nomads, so they're 3 2-power guys. I think we have to take out one of these Scythecat Cubs. They are just a bigger threat right now. But, you know, they could assemble Nadu and we die, but again, they've got 0 cards in hand, so they need 2 cards to do that, because they need a land and the Nadu. Okay, now we're cooking. We've got a Dragon's Rage Channeler, who is deliriously happy about this. Let's get this Brainstorm going. Ponder is pretty good. And we will get rid of these 2 cards. Then I will cast a Brainstorm. We will mill over that land that's on top. I'll put back land and Ponder, I guess. Deploy another 3/3. And then all of a sudden, we are ahead on board. Now, our opponent gets to crack for 4. And we have to crack. But we do have a lightning bolt, so we can mess with their maths on that one. All right, I would like to Ponder, please. Bin off this land. Yes, I would like a lightning bolt. We don't really want a Force of Will. So put the Force of Will at the bottom with a Stifle on top. And then we'll put the lightning bolt into our hand. And then we can shoot these with lightning bolts and mill over their cards we don't like. So we could just kill our opponent instead of killing these. We could just double bolt to the face. Our opponent's got 2 cards in hand. I think we're supposed to lightning bolt one of these guys. Alright, so we'll mill over these cards we don't want. We can take 2 here, that's fine. Daze, pretty good given our opponent's current mana situation. So all that stuff at the beginning where we were wastelanding them and taking out their Delighted Halfling and their Green Sun Zenith is now kind of coming home to roost a little bit. It's good. They are dead on board. They can put us to 3. I don't believe they're going to have any direct damage. No Sonic Blasts or anything weird. A Tamiyo. You can put Shuko on it. Fine. We can just lightning bolt your face. Go to this tropical island. I'd like to bolt you to the face. Sure, I have a Murktide. And we got there. Alright. Felt a little bit dicey at times, but we crossed the line. Blood Moon is pretty good against our opponent's mana base here. So that's something to be aware of. Pyroblast can kill some of their things. Submerge is pretty good. So these are the tools I'm interested in. The Grafdigger's Cage shutting down the Zenith is also pretty good too. That is a lot of cards. I don't like Daze in this matchup, because our opponent has a bunch of mana dogs. And I'm not big on Stifle here either. That leaves us needing 1 more cut. Tamiyo is fine. Bouncing stuff is okay. Maybe we just trim a Bauble. Or is it a Preordain? Maybe Preordain is better to trim, because the Baubles give us the turn to make a thing and go. Alright, I think we'll give this a whirl. I don't think once Surgicals, they sometimes have access to an Uro that they can Green Sun for. We've got Pyroblast and stuff. Okay, we'll keep this. We've got ourselves a very aggressive hand here. Delighted Halfling. Okay. I believe we do what we did last time. So we're going to Lightning Bolt this Delighted Halfling and make sure that the card in our hand works. So next turn we can dump out Double Channeler and maybe we get something off of it. Oh, this is bad news for us. Carpet of Flowers. I guess we're going to fight over the payoff rather than this. They're just going to have some mana. Just have it off. Alright. This is another reason why Daze does not look very good post-board. Like, yes, sometimes you get to Daze the Carpet of Flowers. But Sylvan Safekeeper, is that a thing we have to counterspell? I don't think it is. I think we counterspell the Nadu, is what we're trying for. But if they use this and then they go and get themselves, let's say, the Light Halfling, then that can obviously be an issue for us. Right, let's go and fetch this. Let's get Volk. Let's play a Dragon's Rage Channeler. Let's play a Dragon's Rage Channeler. Alright. We've only got 2 types at the moment, but we obviously have a lot of Surveil open to us. And the Construct beats should be lower than our beats. So we shouldn't have to worry about just getting beaten down by the Urza Saga alone. And then we can untap, have Pyroblast and Dragon's Rage Channeler added to the board. And that's hopefully how we're going to get there. They've added white. We're just getting double plowed. That's 1 plow. I don't think we fight over plow. We're gonna see here a Green Sun for Nadu. It's pretty good. That is a Nomads in Core. Sure. That's not what we're fighting over. Am I taking this block? I don't think I am. I think we're best served by dealing damages here. A Wasteland, you say? I'd like a Dragon's Rage Channeler, please. I'd like a Wasteland, please. I'd like to take out this Urza Saga. Yep. You have a construct, but it's only a 1/1. But 1/1s are actually everything that's in play right now, so bit of a weird situation here. Delighted Halfling. Hate that. Hate that a lot. How do we... I don't think... Oh no, I think we were supposed to counterspell that one. Okay, they had 2. That's a problem. Okay, we basically just going to be playing top deck wars at this point, I think. Another Pyroblast. Alright, I think we have to try and flip our channelers here. So, we don't need this. Submerge. Submerge is an interesting one, actually. It's going to make our opponent sacrifice a land. Okay, I guess we put these 2 on top. Wait, if we're going to submerge, we're going to mill off 2 cards. I guess we want to mill off both of these. We want to put a card on top of our opponent's library. Which one makes the most sense to put on top? I don't think it matters. Right, so we can mill over those cards. Still can't attack. We only have 2 card types after all of that. So they put the Delight Halfling on top of their library. They didn't fight over it with the Sylvan Safekeeper, which means we know they're drawing a blank this turn. Again, I don't think we counterspell this. We need to like point this at stuff like Green Sun Zenith is what we're trying to hit with this. And then we could use the Pyroblast to kill a Nadu. Maybe. Unlikely, given all the stuff that's going on over there. A land isn't the one we wanted. I think I do play it out though, for the purpose of Cori-Steel Cutter down the line. Yep, I think we're just not going to ever make our guys delirious. Just going to get beaten down by all the 1/1s. I didn't add anything. A Ponder. Are we supposed to fight over this? I think we are. I think I'm supposed to fight using the Pyroblast, actually. The Blood Moon doesn't help, really, but it does put an enchantment into our graveyard. A Lightning Bolt. I don't think we need that right now. I think we just need to get into what we're doing. I should have Pyroblasted instead of Force of Willing. That was a mistake. Because the Force of Will has much better targets. Yeah, we're just going to get eaten alive here. A Cori-Steel Cutter. They have lethal on board. Okay, so what we do here is we go to our second main phase. So that these, if we do turn these Delirious in a second, because we're going to do something that doesn't feel great, but it's what we're doing. Right, let's see how we go. Brainstorm is good, but we need to get Delirious this turn. So we're probably just binning off everything here. Oh, that makes me sad. All those poor little Brainstorms. And then I will destroy target permanent if it's blue. It doesn't matter if they sacrifice anything here, because we're just doing this for the Surveil and the Cori-Steel Cutter trigger. Cori-Steel Cutter into the graveyard. Right, now we have 3/3s. Bauble. Don't need that one. Okay, so now we have some stuff to stop them dealing damage to us. However, we're still just very, very dead to Nadu combo because they get to draw 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12 cards. And then on our turn, they get to draw another 12 cards. There is a Nadu. I will scoop to that one. I don't want to make my opponent have to click through that. Okay. Do I want to do anything differently here? Daze is obviously better on the draw. Sorry, better on the play than on the draw. Do I want 2 Grafdigger's Cages? Like, we never want to draw the second one. So maybe we could have like a little cheeky Daze in there. Alright, we'll try that. Alright, this looks like a cool hand. So do you go turn 1 Channeler, turn 2 Cutter, Bauble, Send. And that's pretty good. Hopefully we don't have to take a turn off and Lightning Bolt, but we'll see. It's quite likely they have a Mana Dork on turn 1. That's kind of what their deck does. Volcanic Island and the Channeler. We're going to save this Bauble for next turn so that we can have the really good Steel Cutter turn. Sure, you can have your Carpet. It's pretty good. It's better than a Mana Dork. It might even create a Mana Dork this turn as well. Or they could do like a Ponder or Brainstorm. Alright, blue mana. So probably seeing... Oh, Tamiyo. I think it's more important to get the Cori-Steel Cutter going here. Submerge. I will take the Submerge. So look what you're working with over there. A Scythe Cub. Okay. So these can both attack because the Tamiyo has no power, so we get to force through 1 damage here. If our opponent Brainstorms, we can submerge the Tamiyo on top. So we know they got the Scythecat cub in hand. So they can get some mana to play the Scythecat cub, and then when they play their land, it's going to start pumping their cub. Yep, there it is. Where is this going? Probably on the Scythecat cub, I'd imagine, but they might want to do something on the... Alright, it is just going on the Scythecat cub. Well, they're getting their clue first, and then they're going to transform this. No, they're going to wait till our turn to do it. Interesting. I do not hate the Blood Moon, but with the Carpet Flowers, it's kind of awkward. So what are the two spells we're casting this turn? I think I would like a Lightning Bolt and a Submerge. We could ponder. And we need to get this Scythecat cub out of the way. Let's do that. Yes, I would like to have another Lightning Bolt, please. So I can Lightning Bolt this Tamiyo, or I can cast a Ponder. The Ponder will give me Delirium, so I will cast the Ponder. Obviously going to leave that Lightning Bolt on top because Lightning Bolts are good. Cori-Steel Cutter into Lightning Bolt. Yeah. That seems like a good place to be. I guess we put the Cori-Steel Cutter and then the bolts. We put the bolt into our hand now, just so we have an emergency bolt if we need it. If we need to like bolt twice. Alright. This is a big chunk of our opponent's life total, and we have them dead next turn. I don't think we care about Tamiyo turning into a Planeswalker either. All Tamiyo turning into a Planeswalker does is makes our Lightning Bolts... It basically counteracts the triggers on the prowess, and that's pretty much it. For one trigger. We have 6 damage in hand. Right, green mana. They're going to redeploy their Scythecat Cup. Rest in peace. So that's going to shut off our Dragon's Rage Channeler. That's fine. Like, the Cori-Steel Cutter is the thing that's going to kill our opponent here. A Scythecat Cub. Okay. I'm going to Lightning Bolt this Scythecat Cub at end step. So we know the top card of our library and we like it. Let's crack this. Can I have a Cori-Steel Cutter, please? Brainstorm is a mighty fine Magic the Gathering card that can stay there. Guess just Lightning Bolt this out of the way. I haven't done the maths. That's our opponent's job. We're definitely doing all these things. I think we should have lethal here. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Easy. Alright. And we took that match relatively easily, I would say. So we finished with a 2-3. So not a great record, but 2 of the rounds we lost, we did have to mulligan to like Oblivion a couple of times. And they were close, right? Like one of them we lost 1-2. So that was pretty close. That easily could have gone the other way. And then obviously we mulliganed to Oblivion a little bit, which was a bit rough. We did sort of see the classic adage in Magic where going just a little bit bigger, doing the same thing as your opponent, but doing a little bit bigger is a really potent strategy, which is why we saw like the Grixis Tempo deck was pretty good into us because they were doing very similar things to us, but they just had, you know, a few more like bigger stuff that could then collapse what we were doing. And that was pretty good. But yeah, I think this deck is really strong. I do think this is the best out-and-out tempo build if we don't include Blue-Black Reanimator, which I think is the best deck in Legacy, and the results certainly show that because it has the most top 8s of anything right now. If we just have a quick look at top 8 placings since Tarka Dragonstorm came out, Blue-Black Reanimator on 39, Oops on 38, Blue-Red Delver on 30. So there's this big gulf between the 2 best decks and then other stuff. So, you know, you've got Delver and Tempo, and a different Tempo deck, and then it kind of slumps down to like 14. So there's clearly a problem with these top 2 decks. And then the Tempo Shell is very good. But then the Tempo Shell is something that you kind of need to compete with stuff like Oops. So it's kind of like a product of what's happening. But anyway, this Blue-Red Delver deck is my preference for playing Tempo decks right now. But I don't particularly like the Stifle here. I think the Stifle has some pretty bad synergy with our Cori-Steel Cutter. We didn't get to do very much with it this league. So I think I'd rather just swap these out for something else. We could have some more Tamiyos. We could have some more cantrips. We could have some more removal spells. We could have more Brazen Borrower. I think all these different things that we would have would be better than the Stifle. But sometimes you're going to get people and the Stifle is going to feel good. Alright, that's the end of this one. I hope you enjoyed this one. Congratulations again to Ocean Soul 92 for winning the Legacy Showcase Challenge. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. And goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, And lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.